Welcome to episode 20 of the Business Development Podcast. On today's episode, we have Lasse Joergensen from All In Productions. I'm really excited about today's episode because if you've ever had questions about video production, today we are going to answer some and what type of video you may need for your company. Stay tuned.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Lee Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to the Business Development Podcast. We have made it. We are on episode 20. This is a bit of a milestone for me. I'm really happy today to have Lasse Joergensen on from All In Productions. It's a really exciting interview that I've been waiting on for a while because video isn't something that we have touched on too much. So it's something that I really did want to get started on. Lasse is the founder and owner of All In Productions in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. He holds a bachelor's degree in social work, a marketing degree, is an educated psychotherapist. He's worked in music production, fashion industry, mindfulness instruction, and now video production. Lasse has moved to Canada in 2017 from Copenhagen, Denmark, and started the video production company All In Productions in 2019 to follow his deepest passion. How are you today?
I'm very good, Kelly. Thanks so much. And yeah, that's a lot of titles. It's kind of like what one person, like, is that really? Wow. Okay.
You know what's hilarious? I introduced, at this point we've got to be at, I think, 6. You're our 6th interviewee, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I never stop being impressed by reading your guys' titles. It's like, holy crap, I got a little ways to go because I see somebody like you who has such a background. And it's like, man, it's unbelievable sometimes in this modern day and age how many things people do before they kind of end up at the thing they're doing now, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I think one thing leads to another. And I think that's the beauty of life, that it just keeps unfolding.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you want to run us through it? How did you go from psychotherapy and marketing and music production all the way? I get that it's like stepping stones, but how did you end up in video production?
Yeah, so I've always been very creative. I've always been into photography and also videography in my whole life, I would say. I started as an entrepreneur. I think when I was 5 years old, I wanted to sell old newspapers to my neighbors. I didn't realize that they all wanted new newspapers every day. But I got the idea that, I can make money here. I can go to the neighbors and ask for money and selling old newspapers. But I actually got some money from one of the neighbors. He felt kind of sorry for me, I think. But that's kind of like where my entrepreneurship started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because even I swear, with all the people we talk to, most people, my last interviewee, Colin Christensen, same thing. He had a small landscaping business when he was a kid, 10 years old. And became a serial entrepreneur. It's you see it. It's almost like you're born with that entrepreneurial gene, aren't you?
Yeah, that's for sure. I started off, I think I really started off my journey when I was around 18. I was really much into fashion. So I saw that some of the bigger brands, Hugo Boss, Dolce & Gabbana, etc., they would just be printing their t-shirts, 50,000, 100,000 t-shirts and sell them for a high price. And I thought, that's not right. What about customizing it? What about making every t-shirt unique? So I basically started my own t-shirt company and started writing some provoking statements on t-shirts and started selling them on eBay. And it basically went nuts. The post office lady where I lived, that was when I was living with my parents in Denmark. She was just shaking her head every time I would come, with 25 shipments every day. And yeah, I think that's really when I saw the opportunity to be creative, have fun, and then do business. And yeah, I did that for a few years, and it was a great success.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. May I ask why you stopped doing it?
I think it was just kind of like, I don't know. I think it is definitely a pattern looking back in my life that I've been doing some things for a few years. I'm very excited about it. And then it's just kind of organically turns into something else. So at that time, I basically I went to Australia and spent a lot of the money there for 4 months. And when I got home, I did a marketing diploma,
Yeah.
and that's where I got a job in the fashion industry in Copenhagen. So I moved to Copenhagen, and yeah, I think that kind of positioned me in a different way. They saw the what I've been done in the past with the t-shirts, and yeah, I got a position there, and yeah.
Psychotherapy. This one's the one that when I looked at, I'm like, okay, how did you end up in psychotherapy? That is an interesting avenue.
Yeah, I think I'm always been interesting. Like when talking to people, friends, I was always been most interested in what happens underneath the surface. So I've always been drawn to life, death. Why are we here? What's this universe made of? Who am I? Or in other words, what am I? I think that I'm always been drawn to that. So I think that kind of drew me into wanting to educate myself professionally and getting to know more about myself, but also of course healing some of my own challenges and dealing with my feelings, emotions, being better doing that. So that was a 4 year education, psychotherapy, hands-on group therapy sessions.
Wow.
It was a really beautiful time, and I learned so much throughout that time.
That's really amazing. Yeah, I just I think it's just amazing the amount of things that you've done. I find you, especially, like, I've met you as a person. We've actually met before this. We've kind of had
Yes.
conversations, introductions. Definitely thought there could be potentially some synergies with him and capital business development at some point. I think there is. I think at some point we definitely will be bringing you on to do some video for us when that makes sense. But I
Oh
know,
yeah.
like, my impression of you the first time we met was that you were a very well put together person. You had a lot going on. You cared deeply about video production. You cared deeply about your career and your business. And I definitely got that right off the bat. You're a very likable person too, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to meet, he's incredibly magnetic. He's a magnetic human being, and you just glow, man. You really do. I mean that in the best possible way.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I think that's basically also why I really like you, because I see, in a way, I see myself in you. You're also very likable, high energy, very compassionate. And yeah, I'm really been listening to a lot of your podcasts, and just like having a good friend in a pocket.
That's awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate that anyone's listening to the podcast because it's so funny. You just start it and you don't even know what to expect. That's the weird thing about anything you start like this is you're just like, well, let's try this and see what happens. The next thing you know, you're getting feedback that's like, hey, your show's pretty great. Like, we're really enjoying this. And it's gotten to the point now where we're getting, like, reviews, messages. Like, I'm getting probably like 5 to 10 LinkedIn messages a week at this point, just people saying they love the show. And it's such a cool place to be and such a neat thing to do. But yeah, I just kind of want to move us kind of forward into All In Productions. Can you tell my listeners about All In Productions, what kind of productions you guys do, what you specialize in, stuff like that, and how you got into that specifically?
Yeah, so I moved to Canada in 2017, initially because of relationship, and all the skills and tools that I've developed, all like being a bachelor in social work and also educated psychotherapist, I couldn't use it here.
Hmm.
So I spent some months off just really kind of being open to what's next, and I was out filming at some point, and when I was out filming, I was just having a lot of fun, and I said out loud to the people I was filming, like, "Wow, I'm having so much fun. I would love to do this every day."
Hmm.
And when I said that, there was just kind of like this bell ringing throughout my whole body, saying, "You got it, man. This is it. This
Yeah.
is your calling."
Yeah, when right? It's so funny because I actually feel the same thing with business development. I always like to kind of joke that you never go to school for business development, right? Like one day business development just kind of jumps up and chooses you. You don't choose business development. Business development chooses you. And when I fell into business development, I felt the same way. I was like, holy crap, like this is a job. You can just like
Yeah.
make introductions to people, build relationships, and that's a job. People will pay you for that. And yeah, light bulb came off in my head because it's like I was born to build relationships. I was literally born to do this. And it's really cool when you find something that you're really passionate about. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, even listening right now, that are not passionate about the work they do. And all I can say is you need to find your passion. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, you got to find something that you are passionate about, because it's pretty bloody hard to get up and do work every day for something that you're not invested in emotionally or as a person.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And that I think that's the same for me with video production. For me, it's kind of the same feeling that when I was a child, I was to play video games, and I was just so excited. I couldn't wait. I just want to go back to the video games and be creative and have fun. And that's kind of that's the base of my company. Is basically it's all about having fun and enjoying what I do. Yeah, that's so important, because that clarity or that passion, that love will get you up in the morning when you feel that you're not good enough, or you feel challenged, or you're, all these challenges that life brings. They don't really matter when I'm clear in what I'm doing.
Hmm.
When I have the clarity, then it doesn't matter. I'm kind of like unstoppable.
Yeah, I totally understand that, because as a business owner and entrepreneur, we have so many problems. There's so many things that pop up, right? And
Yeah,
if you aren't clear about why you're doing what you're doing, if you're not clear about where you want to go or what you're hoping for, you can get lost in the mess. You can get lost in the mess, but
totally.
being passionate about what you do and kind of knowing, okay, like I want to build to this situation, or I'm aiming at these goals, having goals and an idea of where you want to go, and then a passion for what you're doing can carry you through the spots that would really upheave your life if that wasn't your outlook or if that wasn't your passion.
Yeah, and I think for many people, it can easily become a compensation for life, like, trying to find meaning and achieving a lot of things through business, because they lack that within themselves. But the thing is, what if tomorrow someone will, if tomorrow your business is not going to work, or you're going to be one big failure in business, then you're going to be stuck with what was originally there, that, lack of meaning or lack of passion in life. So I think it's, for me, I found that for me it's just all about finding meaning and clarity within first, and then second, do business.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes a lot of sense, and I can definitely tell that's what you did, just considering your choice of career, your choice of business. it's
Oh,
definitely
totally.
it's definitely something that you do because you love it. There's no question. There's no question.
Yeah. And yeah, and back to your, I don't know, yeah, I probably didn't answer your question, but All In Productions, we make high quality videos for businesses, organizations, corporations. We specialize in telling the story, making it personal, creative, unique. So it's really all about people and telling the story and doing that well, and making it, high quality cinematic videos that people adore, love, and something that is really engaging. So that is what we specialize in.
Yeah, yeah, and I've definitely seen some of your videos. I've been on your website. I've seen your LinkedIn videos. Let's say has got lots of LinkedIn videos. He did one for the Edmonton Chamber not that long ago. They do a coffee with the chamber event, and he did the video for it. And let's say your videos are amazing. They're really well done. I would say some of the best corporate videos that I've seen. So congratulations, you're killing
Oh, thank you so
it.
much.
They're
Thank,
really
thank
great.
you so much, Kelly.
And
Appreciate it.
so I wanted to get into, I like to talk about what it was like to found your business, because I think a lot of our listeners are on the fence. They have great ideas, but they're just afraid to take that leap. And me and you both incorporated at horrible times. By the way,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I incorporated in December of 2020, and let's say you were in 2019. What month?
Yeah, it's just like early 2020, basically.
Okay, so you're right
Yeah,
there with me.
Yeah, and then COVID hit, and you're just sitting at home, and just like, well, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting time, especially from a business development standpoint, because at that time nobody you couldn't really meet with anybody. And like I'm such an advocate of active marketing. I love to physically meet with people. I love to talk to people on the phone. I
Yes,
like to make real connections, right? And then the
I
whole
know.
world was kind of like delved into, well, we're just going to do Zoom now. But then it wasn't just that. That wasn't the only thing that hammered us, because that alone could have been dealt with. But the economic downturn that came with COVID and the complete uncertainty meant a lot of people weren't even willing to have the meetings, even if they were just a crappy Zoom meeting. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like kind of double edged sword. It was definitely a challenge. And at the time, I was marketing for local Edmonton company, and I remember just kind of feeling like crap. Like, what are we supposed to do here? It became almost impossible. So it was a challenging time. And I guess I wanted to ask you, what were some of the challenges that you faced getting your business off the ground, and maybe what were some of the approaches that you took to overcome them?
hmm I think it's all about being willing to learn, first of all, and also just walking in the unknown. That's the first step. Just acknowledging that I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I know I'm going somewhere, and just do the best that I can. I think that really kept me going every day. But in my industry, I see myself as I need to be more creative. I need to be even further out of my comfort zone than any of my clients. I need to be in the front lead. Otherwise, I cannot sell that mindset or that video vision to any clients. So I realized that I need to open all my doors. I need to go networking. I need to do email campaigns. I need to do then I need to do my own social media videos. I thought that why should I do that? But of course I need to do it. I need to show my face out there. I need to put my bloopers, make a bloopers video and put it on social media as well. So looking back now, I can just see that I was in a comfort zone, and now I see it works when stepping out of it. And the only real enemy in my life is myself.
Hmm.
It's only my own judgment and only my own thoughts that is stopping me. So I think that was really what got me through, first of all.
Yeah, no, and I just want to hit on that, on what you said about yourself being your biggest critic, the one thing in your way. I totally relate to that, and I think so many people do. Like, the reality is that most of the time it's our own fears that are holding us back. It's not other people. It's our own internal fears of failure, our own internal fears of what will people think, or what happens if it doesn't work. But those what ifs are just things that are in your way. The irony is that if you just push them to the side and just try to do the things that are scaring you, most of the time what you'll realize is that they're not as scary as you thought they were, and they might not even be hurdles at all when you finally get into it.
It's so true. It's so true. It's just so ingrained in our nervous system, and it feels so real. And we think that everyone is seeing this and feeling this, but it's no, it's actually only my nervous system.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because it's like you even have a background in psychotherapy. Like, you understand how the mind works, but yet you still face those same challenges. Like, even just knowing how it works isn't enough. It's like you're still fighting that internal humanness, right? You're
Yeah, yeah, no, but I even that's even I had the same projection and ideas as well, that okay, after 4 years of studying psychotherapy, no more anxiety, I'll just be a happy person, and like, but it's just an illusion.
yeah.
Like it's one big illusion. Life is like a washing machine. It will keep on going with cycles after cycle after cycle, and the uh, the further we can get in the middle, the easier it gets, basically, when we just be quiet in the midst of all of it.
Yeah, like I never struggled with anxiety, let's say, until about a couple years ago. And then yeah, like it would come on and go, and it, like, at first I didn't even know what the heck I was dealing with because I'd never really experienced it before. But it's like over time, I would get anxious between like high level meetings or things like that, where what it comes down to is I like to succeed. And if there's ever a situation where I start to feel like, oh man, like this is going to be a bit of a scary situation or something like that, your brain just goes into these like loops of like all the bad things that could happen, right? Even though like none of those things are going to happen. It's so funny. I've had to like kind of learn to overcome fear and anxiety. And, I talk about it in this podcast quite a bit because I'm a business development person. I've had probably 1,000+ meetings in my life, if not more. And I still get anxious, guys. I still get anxious. I still have
Yeah.
days where I go into a meeting where I'm like, oh crap, like I'm just not feeling this today. And I guess the takeaway that I can give from that is I still go to the meeting. And usually what I find is that if I just kind of have a cup of water, maybe I cut back on the coffee that morning where I know that I'm going to have a high level meeting. And if I can just get through the first 2 minutes, I start to realize, oh, okay, I had nothing to worry about. But it's like the secret is you need to just try to go anyway. And I think what you'll find is that after a couple minutes in that meeting or in that thing that you're afraid of, whether that be a public speech or whatever it is you're afraid of, after a couple minutes, you'll feel much better. It's just your body's anxiety response, and we don't necessarily control it.
It's so true. I think that's really the best advice that I could also even give myself when I was younger. It's just kind of like, oh no, I'm too nervous. I should probably not do it. It's just like, just go. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? What is the worst thing that can happen? It's really asking yourself. And no one is going to shoot you. No one's going to kill you. So just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just our ego's response to protect itself from stepping outside of the comfort zone and experiencing and feeling uncomfortable feelings. That's basically what anxiety is doing. So it's just kind of to protect itself in that way. So in that way, it's just trying to help, but it's not the best tool, so to speak.
Yeah. We're not having to run from a saber-toothed cat anymore. Just maybe an angry business person.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Totally.
Obviously, let's get into maybe some of the tactics that you're utilizing today to grow your business. Cause like I see your LinkedIn stuff. I see your video posts. I'm a huge advocate for what I like to call passive marketing, which is kind of what I would call what you're doing with regards to the LinkedIn posts, that kind of digital background. But I'm also a huge advocate for that's a passive strategy. And you typically want to also incorporate an active strategy, which would be to actually follow up with these people, to have a CRM program where you're kind of doing digital introductions, but then you're moving them into a phone call, email stage, and then getting in front of them for a meeting. What can you say to business development podcast listeners with regards to like your marketing strategy? I know you kind of use a little bit of both. So can you maybe explain the tactics that you are using?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's very essential to build a foundation. And by building a foundation, it's basically building a home on the platforms that you're on. So I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, also using Facebook a little bit, and of course your website. Because if you're going to reach out to people on LinkedIn or email campaigns, the first thing they're going to do is just let's go to his LinkedIn profile.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's go to his website. Do you see great work? Do you see something genuine? It really reflects who you are. So I would say it's so important to build those platforms, first of all, because that's the first thing that people are going to look at.
Yeah, it's so cool that you touched on that because literally my last episode, I was talking about how your LinkedIn profile is your personal skyscraper. It's like in the modern day, it's who you are and how you present yourself on LinkedIn is so critical to how people are going to perceive you.
I so agree. And by the way, I was listening to it while I was in the gym. I heard it already.
So it wasn't an accident.
It was great. Yeah, it was a great podcast. And I it's just like the value that you bring, Kelly, is just amazing because I knew most of the stuff, but I'm just thinking for anyone else who doesn't know, it's just like that's a $2,000 book right there.
Well, thank you. Free on the podcast.
Free, ladies and gentlemen, it's free.
Yeah, no, it's so funny, right? It's like people don't recognize how critical these things are. Like, I talk to businesses and I'm trying to explain to them that like, okay, in the 80s, 100%, it was your skyscraper. It was your 30-story skyscraper. That was your mark to the world of we're awesome. But in the modern day, you're being judged on your website. But the funny thing is, you can build an absolutely beautiful website for $5,000. You can build an amazing website. You can probably even, attack another 5 or 6K on there and add some video production and build just an absolutely stunning website. And it's not going to cost you the cost of a skyscraper, but you can compete with those companies by having a website that's beautiful, that really is just unbelievable, because that is your face in the 21st century. And ironically, LinkedIn is your personal face in the 21st century. So it's like you also need to be making sure that you're spending time building that up, making sure that all of your company information's right, your education's right, your picture's not you holding a fish or barbecuing, right?
Well, it might work. I'm in my industry, it might work because people just like, wow, that's very creative, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's just so funny. So hopefully, if I can like change one thing, I can just be like, hey, just change your profile pic from holding that sweet fish to maybe just like something a little more business related.
Yeah,
Especially if you're in
totally.
marketing.
Yeah. But I think it really comes down to strategy, and in my industry, or what we offer, is basically making a video strategy. So one thing is, having that main introductory video is simply crucial at this time on your website, just to showcase who you are, what you do, the vision, the passion in your work, and what you offer. You can make that video in so many ways, but you want to align that with who you are, the quality that you're providing. So that's one thing. And then having even video testimonials on your website, that's
Mm,
something that also study shows that the conversion rate can go up by 60% by having some professional video testimonials on your website to bring in social proof and trust, of course.
yeah.
But then on social media, you can post consistently by basically what you're doing now as a podcast. You could do that on video, and doing that every week consistently, that will help you build your audience organically. People will start following you, they start trusting you. So every time they will need business developers, it's like, oh, Kelly, I see him all the time, like he's amazing, I'm following him. And in that way, the videos are starting doing the job for you
Hmm.
on your website, on social media, and in that way kind of work as a strategy. And if you really want to pump it up, you can run ads as well.
So,
But that's a way to do it a little bit more active in a way as well, I would say.
so okay, I'm going to ask you something that's maybe a little bit challenging. But here's the reason. Here's the reason. The reason I'm going to ask you this is because I deal with high level CEOs. I deal with high level presidents, people in charge of, multi-million dollar companies. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, they just don't understand the system. They don't understand video production. They don't know what the heck they need, and they don't know what benefit it'll have, and they just don't know where to start or what that even looks like. So okay, we're talking to a whole bunch of entrepreneurs right now who don't know
Hmm.
anything about video production, me included, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Walk me through it, let's say, okay? Like, we don't know anything. We know we need video. We see it all
Hmm.
over the place. We see great video, but we're like, where the heck do you even start? Where does a company start? And what are the different steps they can utilize in the video production or in that process? Maybe it's like a place to start, then a next step and a next step. Walk me through what like a full video production setup could be from start to finish for a company, just so that they have an idea of what that might look like and where to even get started.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And it really depends on how big the company is, business, is entrepreneur, whatever, and also the budget, of course. But the first thing you want to do as a business is having a great website.
Hmm.
Having a great website with text and pictures doesn't really do much these days. So Google actually made a study about it, and the study showed that a website with video was 800% more efficient
Wow.
on all levels. Even though they had the most perfect pictures and amazing text, video just showcases so much more. It brings you so much more emotion, connection, feelings, everything that we're looking for. And that's basically why we are watching a movie, is because we want to get touched. We want to use all our senses, right? And that's basically why a video has so much to offer. But the first thing is building the foundation. That is your website, and then the 1 minute introductory video.
Okay.
You can also call it brand message video or corporate video. So every time people go to your website, they will just click that button, and when the video is well made, they will stay there for 1 minute And 1 minute video is equal to reading 10 minutes of text.
Wow.
No one is going to stay on any website for 10 minutes. They probably going to stay 30 to 60 seconds if they like it. If they don't like it, they leave within 5 to 10 seconds.
Wow.
And then they go to the competitor. So that's why you want right away, you want a golden nugget for them to stay. And that's where the video comes in. And that's why it's so valuable to have that main introductory video.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for just saying that. I'm speaking it all the time, and I'm trying to like pound it through to our listeners. You do not have minutes of people's time. We have such short attention spans. I'm a millennial, so I'll say it. I got a short attention span.
Oh,
Right?
me too.
If I'm not interested real quick, and what I also like, I'm a huge advocate of like physical advertising material as well, let's say. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
regularly promoting like, yeah, you definitely want a beautiful website. You definitely want to do a brochure that's like very, very eye catching as well, because we're always sending digital brochures, or
Yes.
we're leaving physical brochures depending on what our business is. And if it isn't eye catching, if you're not interested, if it doesn't make you be like, wow, that's cool, I want to open that in about 3 seconds, it's going in the garbage. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
No, true. I do the same. I basically do the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we live in this time where, yeah, you don't have much time. So you need to be thinking outside the box. You need to be thinking outside the box. And what you're saying about having this like 1 minute eye-catching video, to me, it resonates so much with me. It's just like,
Mhm.
absolutely, like of course we need to have that, because we are also marketing to millennials, right? Like most people in purchasing or making buying decisions today, in my guess, would probably be millennials, like in most
Mhm.
businesses. So you need to be keeping that in mind when you're creating these marketing materials, which is essentially what you're doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. So okay, so we've created the introduction. Let's say that they've done this now. Let's say they've gotten the
Yeah.
introduction video, but there's still more to it, isn't there? What else can they be doing?
Yeah, so like bigger companies, they struggle finding the right fit for them. They're spending a lot of time on, hiring different recruitment teams and stuff like that. They can basically just make a recruitment video
Okay.
to share a little bit about their culture, share about what they are, looking for, but just so people can get a sense of their culture. So when they would need to hire find new staff, they can just share this recruitment video on social media, newsletters, but also run ads.
Okay.
Businesses, they spend a lot of time on inquiries, and people have the same questions. So you can easily make like a top 10 frequently asked question videos, and then you can get different employees from the company to share that. In that way, they get to know you in a very personal and intimate way, and that's a different way of using a video strategy, and that will save you a lot of time because people will find what they're looking for right away. And if you put them on YouTube, a lot of people will find the videos through searching.
Okay. So do you find that most of your corporate clients are creating something for the website, but then they're also creating a YouTube channel on behalf of that company?
I always recommend putting it on YouTube, because even though you cannot call, maybe YouTube is not known for like a high end video streaming platform, but the reality is everyone is looking on YouTube.
Mhm.
So that's why you want your video on YouTube. So why not put it on a YouTube, and you can even just stream it from YouTube.
Yeah. So a lot more companies too are doing work from home, right? Like I'm seeing a lot more startup companies that are growing where they don't necessarily have this like head office location. What can you do for something like that for our smaller businesses that still, they're making revenues. They need some video production. They have this great
Yeah.
website. They have great service. How can you accommodate something like that for them?
Yeah, and that's also a really good question. Actually, next week I'm going to be filming a video exactly like that. He's an entrepreneur and he would like to create an introductory video, but yeah, he doesn't really have the office space. So basically, we're going to rent a boardroom, and then it's going to be probably like a 3 camera interview setup. So something that looks really awesome. It's very dynamic, and just making it like documentary style video, introductory video, and then probably mixing it with some beautiful drone video shots and maybe some other B-roll footage. But that's a good example of how you can do it. You don't need a big office. You don't need a specific location. It can also be in a studio setting with a white background, a black background, or you can rent Airbnb or your friend's house.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's okay. So for me, it's obvious. It's obvious to me why I would want to hire a professional such as yourself. However, I know that I have people listening that are thinking, well, shit, I can just go to Best Buy and I can buy this camera and I could just take my own video and I can put it online. Can you maybe just explain to people why it's best to go with a professional such as yourself? Like I said, it's obvious to me. I totally understand, but there's a lot of people
Mhm.
listening who especially entrepreneurs, right? Like we're kind of silly in this way where we just think like, well, I can do it. If someone else could do it, I can do it. Right. But
Yeah.
but I know that there's reasons to use you. So can you explain to why you should outsource your video production versus just buy a camera and do it in your own office?
Yeah, that's also a really good question. I think, if you can go to YouTube and find different videos of different qualities, right? Making a video, if you don't have the skills, it's I would say it's basically impossible. Like making a good professional video, it's basically impossible because you need a lot of equipment. Lighting is crucial, audio is crucial, lenses, different cameras, like it all adds up. So if you really want to make your own videos, you can easily spend $20,000 in equipment,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you need to learn how to use it, and that will might take a few months. And
Yeah.
then you need to know how to edit it, and then you need to how to color grade, then you need to how to add text and music liabilities, and it all adds up. So basically, I like looking at myself like I'm one man. I'm a one man show, and I'm the editor. I'm the director. I'm the audio guy. I'm the filmmaker. I'm the coach. I'm the mentor. I call it. I edit. So there's so many roles that I need to be really good at to be able to pull off good videos.
Yeah, for sure. No, it 100%. It takes skill, experience, and equipment. And it's just guys, like the quality you can get from hiring a professional to do your video for you is next level. And I mean, even if you were to go out and spend whatever, let's say you went and spend $5,000, $10,000 on equipment, once again, you need the experience, you need to know how to use it right. And let me tell you, that is its own skill in itself that takes years to perfect. So my advice to anybody listening to this right now would be, I know the idea could come where it seems like, okay, well, why wouldn't I just do my own video? And yeah, maybe sure, if you just want to shoot a quick video of yourself on your phone because you're just doing a quick LinkedIn post or something, fine. But anything professional, anything that's going to go on your website, anything that's going to be a face or an advertisement for the company, you should definitely consider hiring a professional such as to get it done for you.
Yeah, and I would say my recommendation is basically everything on your website and everything commercial needs to be high end, needs to be professional. But you can easily start out on social media, like TikTok is a good example, or even Instagram. Like it's better to get out there instead of waiting for having a budget to buy big cameras, because it's really not about that on social media. It's more about starting and getting a strategy and being consistent and bringing value, educating your audience. That's the main thing.
Mhm.
So that's a good way to get started for sure. But another thing about high quality and professional videos is that think of it as an 4-year investment.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you basically you can divide that expense in by 4, because you can use, when it's really well made, you can actually use it for around 4 years. So in that way, you don't need to think about videos every month and spending a lot of money every month, but you can make that investment, and then you have something really solid that will get people hooked, and people will get to know you in an instant.
So that 4-year mark is also really important too, because your website should be redesigned every 4 years as well.
Exactly.
So if you think about it from like a consistency standpoint, whenever you revamp your website, which should be every 4 years on average, you should also revamp your video at the same time. Is that what you're saying?
It really depends on where you're at in your business, but just roughly, it could be 3 to 5 years, 3 to 6 years. It really depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm sure just like your website or just like anything digital, the trend changes. And so the video trend probably also changes with it. Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah, and especially how you're drawing your audience. Like it has changed a lot the last 5 years, and even in the past, like 15 years ago, you would have introductory videos being 5 minutes long, and people just sit there and eat their snacks and bring coffee and just taking in slowly. But now the challenge for us as professional videographers is basically making that 1 minute video where you just bring in all the juice. And I can be filming for hours, and then I need to cut that down to 1 minute
That's
with three people being interviewed, and then footage of the office, location, drone work, the whole thing.
wow.
So that is a real challenge.
No kidding. No kidding. Like I imagine that takes you like days to get it right.
Yeah, but it's a skill. It's definitely a skill. It's like a puzzle. It's just like 1,000 piece puzzles, and eventually it's gonna be completed.
Absolutely. Well, I like to always ask because I know that you're a high performance individual, you're a business owner, you're a very busy man. And can you tell us a little bit about what your daily routine looks like?
hmm Yeah, I usually get up at 7 a.m. Then I go for a run just to get my body moving. I sit quite a lot in front of the computer, so it's easy for me to eat healthy and really move my body. I also go to the gym twice a week, so that's something that is really important to me. Yeah, I think I could definitely be more structured. I would say I work very much in a flow. So if I'm working on a video project and there's a deadline, I really want to work on that first. I follow up on emails, I reach out to people, make a few calls, work on my campaigns, and yeah, it's just a lot of things almost at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you, man. I'm always moving. Like between the podcast, between capital business development, now I have an employee that I'm working with and just trying to kind of manage everything. Yeah, it can be time management becomes a real challenging thing as a busy entrepreneur, let me tell you. But yeah, kind of finding a structure that works for you that also, like you said, incorporates like by flow, I think what you mean is there's definitely moments where you just need to take a step back and relax too, and so you're finding ways to do that and work while you have flow, but maybe when you're not in that flow and you just need some space, you're giving yourself that time as well.
Yeah, and it's so true. And I think my challenge is definitely just realizing, oh, I am actually very tired. I should not spend the next 2 hours from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. working in this kind of inner environment, so to speak. Then it would be better to just say, you know what, I'm done for the day. So, I think we all have challenges,
Hmm.
and it's just all about being honest to ourselves and doing what's best for us, but also just really be focused on self-care as well, because you don't want to burn out.
Yeah, I definitely like I'm susceptible to that. I can definitely work myself too hard and like I feel like if I didn't like consciously give myself an off switch where it's like okay, now I need to take a step back, I same as you. I'd be up to like midnight doing work because there's always something to
Yeah.
do, right? Like, there's
That's the
always
thing. It just never stops. And so many times I've realized, you know what? You finish this task, and then there's 20 other tasks. It will never stop.
yeah.
It will never stop. So for me, it's all about focusing my energy on what actually works.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I totally feel you. So how do you keep yourself motivated? Like, I mean, we all have our tough times. What is it that you tell yourself when you're having those moments, when you're struggling, when you're overwhelmed? How do you keep yourself motivated with my profession and your profession? Staying positive and staying like enthusiastic is critical. And sometimes that's not easy. What are some of the techniques that you utilize to keep yourself kind of pumped up and motivated?
Yeah, definitely exercising is a big one. Like if you don't exercise, it's almost like it's you just need to exercise. And for me, it's not about having fun exercising. It's just about doing it because that's what my body is made for.
Hmm.
And that really it does something to my mood. It does something to my whole day, basically. So that's really important thing. And also eating healthy and getting sleep, ladies and gentlemen. One of the most important things is getting good night's sleep. Do whatever is needed to get a good night's sleep, whether it's doing yoga, meditating, or whatever you need is basically just get that good amount of sleep.
Hmm.
But I think what motivates me is basically, like I told you in the beginning, that I had this calling to do what I do, that is my motivation. So I don't, in that way, I it's almost like the job is done. I don't need motivation because I'm just clear to walk forward. That's my clarity. So in that way, you can call it motivation, but for me, it's just more about, oh, this is it. This is just what I'm gonna do, and I love it.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I don't find that I necessarily need to have an end goal to motivate me either because I enjoy what I do. So there are definitely days, sure, like any job, there are days where I'm like, ah, crap, this sucks. Like, I wish I didn't have to work today, right? But
Oh, totally.
I don't care whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, a business owner, whatever
Yeah,
you do, a
that's
podcaster,
life.
you're going to have days that you don't want to do it. That's just life. That's just life. But as
Yes.
long as you have a lot more days that you do want to do it than you don't, you're probably on the right path.
Yeah, but I also see it as as personal, basically, that it's like being in a relationship. All your patterns and all your anxieties, your fears, like all your emotional triggers, they're gonna be hit in a relationship, and you can either say, "Oh, I should not be in a relationship," or you could also turn it around and say, "Wow, this is actually something within me. I can learn something from this. I want to learn. I want to go deeper in life." And I think that's the same in business, that having a business is kind of like a relationship, and
Hmm.
you're going to be challenged, and you will see the same kind of patterns show out in your everyday life, but you can deal with it, or you can run away. And
Yeah.
I rather dealing with it and just seeing, wow, okay, this is part of my structure. This is how my ego was made, so to speak, and learning from it, and then I think we can grow as human beings
I think
in
it's
it.
really interesting that you compared it to a relationship. I never really thought about it that way, but 100%. You hit the nail on the head. It really is. It's like there's going to be situations in your relationship and in business that yeah, you're going to have to you can't just run away from everything. Sometimes you just got to face it head on and deal with it because the reality is nobody is going to be perfect and no business is going to be perfect and you're going to have to overcome those things and sometimes just having the fortitude and the strength to overcome is the difference, right? It really makes the difference because you can't just run away all the time or you're never going to win anything.
Exactly. And I think that's also like the trend in video marketing that I see, that, and I definitely see that as in the future, that instead of showing the perfect product and being the perfect company, no, let's see all the flaws as well. Let's see it's real human beings behind bigger or smaller companies. Share that culture, because then it's easy for people to trust them. They see that, wow, they're just like me,
Yeah.
but I would still love to buy their product.
Absolutely. Like when I
You
made
know?
this podcast, I realized really quickly that I was going to make mistakes because one, I'm just not a podcaster. I'm a business development person trying to podcast. And so I recognized that okay, like I'm learning production, I'm learning recording, I'm learning audio. Frankly, I don't know anything about microphones when I started this. I had to learn it all. I'm still learning. I'm learning every single day. And I knew that I was going to make mistakes. And so, literally, one of the first things, I think it was my intro episode, I just said, bear with me. I'm going to do the best I can do. I'm not going to edit out every problem or every mistake because, frankly, I'd be
No.
editing all day long. Right.
Yeah.
but,
No, but that's, yeah.
but I guess,
But I think that's why I love that's why I really love your podcast, because if everything was just so polished, and, oh, I'm just positive all the time, and I'm just doing great, and yeah, I'm just amazing, 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 then that was kind of the old age. Like the
Mhm.
new age is like, be you.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
want
I
to
love
hear who
that.
people are. I want to know people. And I think that's what's so cool about business development and specifically active business development, which is what I specialize in. Because we live in a time where the whole world is like, okay, well, we want to take a step back. We don't want human to human interaction. Just give us this digital ad, give us this digital marketing. But we as humans still crave human to human interaction, which is why you're listening to this podcast right now. You're craving a real authentic experience with a person, with somebody communicating with you, And I think it's important that we don't forget that we don't forget that as people, digital strategies are great. Passive strategies are great for brand recognition, that sort of thing. But you still need to be a person. People still want to buy products or services from people. You don't sell to a company, you sell to another individual. Hopefully, it's somebody that you've created some type of connection with, some type of trust,
True. Yeah, and that's also like, I think in my work, that the reason why I really enjoy making videos is that connection, that personal, intimate connection, and just also kind of like seeing people grow from there, like seeing them getting out of the comfort zone and then delivering that to them, and they are, they're always impressed seeing themselves like that, and they're just proud and happy to share it with the whole world.
It's so weird hearing yourself. I listen to my podcast. I'm a weirdo like that. And so like usually the day after I produce my show, I produce it. What's so funny, let's say, is that I don't actually listen to my show while I'm producing it because I'm listening for mistakes. I'm listening for errors to kind of make a like that are too bad that I need to edit out, or I'm listening to the words, or I'm reading the words for the transcript, right? To make sure that I'm editing it and I'm not having a
Yeah.
whole bunch of word mistakes. So the irony is I probably listen to my podcast 3 times before it actually goes live. But I don't actually hear myself in the podcast until I hear it live because you're so invested. I'm sure you understand from production. You're so invested in the task of production that you're not hearing the message, right? So it's funny when I hear my podcast the day after it goes live, it's kind of like the first time I'm hearing it, which is funny to think about.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, that's also why I love when I say a video is completed, I like to sleep on it. And then next morning with fresh, I watch it again, and usually it's finished, but there could just be a little tweak here and there. So yeah, it's good to do. It's good to listen to your own podcast for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of a yeah, it's not so bad anymore. At first it was pretty weird. It was pretty weird hearing myself because you don't really hear yourself until you hear yourself. If that makes sense.
No, it's true. But it's also like then you're kind of building this different relationship with yourself. It's like the way that you look, like when you go in front of a camera, the way that you look at yourself is very different from how I will look at you, and the feelings and emotions that I will get by just simply seeing your presence. It's just interesting thinking about it. Like the way that you feel about yourself, no one will ever have that.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own way of feeling and thinking of you.
That you'll never understand either.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We could definitely go all day on that. But what's
Totally.
important is how you feel about yourself, and that you respect
Exactly.
yourself and love yourself and trust yourself and believe in yourself. I think those are all critical
Yes.
things. I want to get back to the business development side. We are kind of coming to the end of our interview today, but I do want to just chat a little bit about your business development strategies. Since we are the business development podcast, I like to chat a little bit about what your strategy is. Can you tell me what business development systems you utilize? Like, I know you're
Mhm.
using a lot of like video or Facebook and that sort of thing, but do you utilize a CRM or anything like that to track your day-to-day work?
No, I have a more like a follow-up system with all my emails, and I have some different sheets that I use for people that I'm working with, and prospects and different leads and stuff like that. I've been using, like, that was definitely throughout COVID, with email campaigns. That was really my way of getting clients in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely more networking now, getting out there in different ways. So I'm a member of different networking groups, which is also a really good way to, you know, learn and improve on all the different ways that I can, personally and also for my business. Yeah, and then I would say like LinkedIn is probably like LinkedIn outreach is definitely my go-to at the moment, because email campaigns, everyone is kind of sending emails these days. And that's also what I really enjoyed when your podcast on cold calling. Like no one is really calling right now. That's something that is easy to miss, also because the level of anxiety is quite high for most people doing
Mm-hmm.
that. So I definitely see probably like yeah, tendency to go back to basics in a way that which you also been talking about, like doing it everything more personal. Show up at the company and say hi, oh, hey, how's it going, or making that cold call. So for me personally, that's definitely where I would like to go deeper into that realm.
Yeah, no, and totally. It's like, ironically, we live in a time now where there's so much digital and passive marketing, and so many companies are focused on utilizing that as their prime strategy, that it's like you stand out by doing things that people did 20 years ago. You stand out by showing up in person, shaking a person's hand, and introducing yourself. You stand out by picking up your phone and making that cold call, even though it's nerve wracking. You get better at them over time, and ironically, your competition is probably not doing this. So if you're doing it, you're standing out from the crowd in a sea of competition by just being a person.
Totally. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I actually think that I haven't tried it, but I will do it, Kelly, and I'll do it for you. And having you in my pocket, like I would like to do cold calling a whole day and seeing the result of that. And I bet that I will have more meetings that I could ever do with any well-shaped email campaign. That's that, that's my belief.
Yeah, like you can use both, right? Like the secret isn't to just do one. The secret
Hmm.
is to do both, right? But don't
Exactly.
neglect one over the other. Like have passive marketing. Capital business development, we have passive marketing, right? I use a LinkedIn strategy. I do weekly posts. I do posts for the podcast. I'm active on LinkedIn regularly. That's typically where I'm doing my passive marketing, just so you know. I don't typically pay for ads outside of that. I'm usually doing it there. But I also have a
Yeah.
full call strategy. I have an email strategy. I have a CRM. I have a process flow that I utilize for my clients and for my company. And by following both processes, we're accomplishing brand recognition, which is important, but we're also making that face-to-face introduction. We're making the phone call, we're moving them down the line, we're booking meetings, which you guys sell in person, right? Like the reality is it doesn't matter whether you're selling your services or I'm selling my services or my fellow podcast listeners, you're selling your services or products. Most of that stuff is done in person, and you have to get the meetings to have that done in person. You have to get the meetings to build the relationship, and you get the meetings by calling people and asking for them.
Yeah, but it's so true, and I really like your approach. And I believe that it's really good to be very active, get out there, and but also combining the different strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. It don't get your head stuck in one strategy, and be open to ideas. Be open to the fact that things change, right? Like heck, I'll tell you right now some things that changed for me. Like 6 months ago, we didn't use AI for anything. And now, yeah, we like AI is all over the place. You don't have to turn your head. You got 15 ads on your phone for AI products and services, right? Like the world changes, and you don't get closed off into one way of thinking to think, well, that's never going to work. Because frankly, for like social media post creation, AI has completely revolutionized the world. Like that will never be the same.
Yeah.
And you have to be open and aware of these technologies as they're coming, because your competitors are going to use them. You have to be aware of trends changing. You have to be aware of what's hot. And like in the case of All In Productions, the world is trending towards video, high interest video, something that's attractive and eye catching. And it's not going to be long until, yeah, if your web page doesn't have video on it, sorry, you're not going to be considered, because people just are not going to stick around long enough to look at it.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's just like, we talked about the millenniums. They will be looking for the videos. The older generations, not too much, but yeah, it's just the future. Is everything fast, everything, yeah, and everything in video basically. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. If you could go back to the beginning, like right to the beginning of All In Productions, would you do anything differently?
I think just I think getting more out. I think like stepping more out of my comfort zone is one thing. Also, asking for help if I would need help instead of just doing it on my own. That would be another thing. But I believe in that life is just one big process, and I've I done the best that I could, and I know what I know now, and 3 years from now I would know so much more. So
Yeah. Yeah, I totally hear you. It's like, does it matter?
Ye- no, it does. It totally does. But in same, yeah, it's just kind of that's kind of like it's kind of like the same with a relationship. That's the relationship you had with 20 years ago is not the same as you have now, because you changed. Like you matured. You're doing things differently, and maybe also even attracting different people as well.
Yeah. The reason I like to ask that question is because it's like, even though, yeah, for sure, like, are there tactics that I would have utilized that were different? Sure. I'm sure, like, if you could go back, the reason I like to ask the question is because sometimes there's one or two things that they think of that are like, oh crap, if I would have known that, it would have saved me a ton of money or a ton of trouble. And that could help some other entrepreneur listening to this show right now. It allows someone else to make the mistake so that they don't have to. And frankly, I've been successful in my business because I've seen mistakes made by other people that I mentored with or that I worked close with, that since I seen it, I know what not to do. And it's like, I'm going to make my own mistakes. Believe me, I will. I'm fully confident I will make my own mistakes and someone will learn from me. And it's just, I think it's important as entrepreneurs that we are passing down that information. It's like, okay, yeah, I made this mistake. You might not want to do this because we're going to hopefully save one of the future generations a little bit of a headache that, they're going to make their own mistakes too. But I think over time, the less mistakes you can make, the higher the chance of your success.
Yeah, and but also like we learn so much from our mistakes and yeah. But I think overall it's basically like when I started, I thought that I don't need a LinkedIn profile and I don't need to be on video and all of these things, but that's what I ended up doing. Like I needed to get on all platforms. I need to get all the way out of my comfort zone. I need to be in front of video. I just need to be in the lead using videos. Otherwise it's impossible for me to ask my clients to do the same.
Well, I could tell you that I would have never, like, you go back even a year and say you're gonna have a podcast. I'd be like, no, no, I'm not. The irony is that you just never know where you're going to be. You just don't know. You just don't know. The funny thing is you're just always moving forward. And I think as an entrepreneur, that is what you need to be thinking. It's like, do you know where you're going to be a year from now? Probably not. Do you have an idea of where you'd like to be? Sure. But the reality is usually different from what you think. And you just have to be open and willing to try something new, to try something different. And that's what I did with the podcast. And it's been great. I've enjoyed it. I really enjoy this. I love this because I get to hang out with Lasse. I get to hang out with all of these great people. And I'm learning. I'm learning from these interviews. I'm learning from the discussions. I'm getting to have really real discussions with entrepreneurs, business owners, business development people. And I love it. This is truly just a place that I love. But I would have never called that this is where I was going to be. I'm
No.
sure at some point you couldn't have called that you were going to be in video production.
No, never. No, never. But now looking at throughout my whole life, I see that wow, okay, now it makes sense that I was working in the fashion industry, you know, bachelor in social work, psychotherapy, different companies and music production and photography. Everything kind of aligns into the skill set that I needed to start this company. So in that way, I'm just looking back and just being really grateful that life kind of helped me build those skills and now I'm just ready for the next level.
Yeah, totally. Like it's all stepping stones. Absolutely. It's like my life in business development totally prepared me to be able to be a podcaster because it's like I knew how to talk. I just didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to talk to myself. That's a really weird thing. Like the thing about the podcast that's super weird, especially when it's not an interview format, is you're kind of talking to yourself. So what I like to do is just imagine I'm talking to a group of people to like to not make it feel so
Yeah.
weird, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I would actually do the opposite, like
really.
because I rather being one on one than in front of a whole group of people.
Oh yeah,
But
no, for me it's like, okay, it's so weird to talk to yourself, right? So I
yeah,
like kind of picture it like I'm not talking to myself. I always kind of think like, okay, I'm talking to like a group of people because I am. Like the reality is thousands of people listen to this podcast. So
hmm,
it's just a completely different way to talk to thousands of people.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're really good at it. For me, it's just like you're natural. I like when I heard your first podcast. It's kind of like, well, yeah, of course he's a natural. This is kind of you were born to do this. Like that's just my sense.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that because I definitely didn't feel born to do it.
No, but that's different. That's different. But that's also what we talked about earlier. That
Yeah,
you have your experience and I have my experience, and my experience is like, whoa, I love it. You're bringing a lot of value. I'm really learning from your podcast, and inside of Kelly, it can be a different experience.
totally. And it totally is.
Yeah, just keep on going, man. Keep on going. It's great.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Do you have any questions for me, let's say, before we wrap this up today? Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me, maybe about business development or anything like that?
Yeah. What is your next step in your business regarding active marketing?
Oh, that's a really good question. So, like we're establishing our marketing program. So, I've recently hired Cole. The goal here is to hire a couple more people over the next few months and just kind of start getting the train rolling. I'm establishing a lot of my policies and procedures. I have procedures to how I like to utilize my business development strategy as it is, like the way that we do it for clients, but I'm still kind of establishing how we're going to be doing that marketing and stuff for capital directly. But let me tell you, it's coming together. And yeah, we are taking new clients. So if anyone is listening to this and they're looking, we're at the point now where we're looking at new clients, although it won't be long until we're full up. So what we do in that case, just so that you guys are aware, is we're taking waiting lists, and we also work one client per industry as well to keep it very competitive. So
Hmm.
yeah, we kind of keep waiting lists and stuff going. But I think sooner rather than later, I'm going to be looking at a website redesign, and we will be in touch at that time because I will be needing your services.
I'm looking forward to it. I would love to make an epic video. That would be.
Oh, I'm confident you will. Well, thank you so much, Lasse, for joining us today. This has been Lasse Joergensen. He owns All In Productions in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. If you guys I imagine you operate across Canada if you get asked. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you guys need any type of video production, corporate video, personal video, anything like that, Les is your guy. He does amazing video production. How can they get a hold of you if they would like to get in touch?
Yeah, basically connect with me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, go to the website productions.ca, and that you'll get everything needed.
That's awesome. Thanks, Lasse. Thanks so much for being here today. You guys have been listening to episode 20 of the Business Development Podcast. This has been an interview with Lasse Joergensen of All In Productions in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Just so you guys know, we did submit the Business Development Podcast to the Quill Podcast Awards 2023. We do need your support. So if you guys can head over to their website, Quill Podcast Awards, if you just kind of type that into Google, click on it, you can nominate the Business Development Podcast, and we would greatly appreciate that nomination. You can nominate us for any new business podcast or new podcast in general, as well as any of the business categories. And as always, we need your support. If you can like, subscribe, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, it's greatly appreciated. It allows us to expand our audience. And thanks again. Until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capital. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.